Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real thrill to be here this evening. I lead the National Urban Water Governance Program at Monash University, and we're really focused on those questions of governance and those questions about moving to a sustainable urban water future. And as part of doing that, sorry, we're waiting for my presentation to...
Yeah, and then the next slide.
And as part of doing that, as Professor Ryan talked about in his opening just then, we need to be thinking about system jumps, not incremental changes to the future in terms of bringing about sustainability, but some radical changes. We often focus on the technological radical changes, but there's some fairly significant changes that we need in the social and the institutional setting. And our view is to do that and to do that well, we really need to take advantage of looking at and understanding the radical changes we've made in history in water so far. This diagram behind me captures the history that we've been through in Australia in terms of system-wide jumps. We started off with a water supply city, and what we were driven there is by accommodating population growth in the early 1800s in Australia. We responded with simple hydraulics. The next major city-state for Australia started in the 1850s, right through up until the end of the Second World War, and really focused on public health. Public health was the driver in protecting public from contaminated water, and we introduced separate sewerage systems. With the rise of the automobile and the global fossil fuel agenda underpinning our economies, our cities were expanding significantly, and we turned into the drain city. So we're very concerned about issues around flooding and protecting communities from flooding, but really keeping that population growth and that development growth going. We responded with urban hydrology and drainage practices. Put a lot of our creeks and rivers under the ground. We channelized a lot of our natural waterways. Our next major city-state was the waterway city, driven by communities being concerned about social amenity and environmental protection. I suppose what I really want to talk about, though, is moving to that water-sensitive city. The National Water Initiative is talking about it for our urban communities, for our cities around Australia, and what we see as the major drivers for those: one, intergenerational equity, communities concerned about social, natural and built capital being there for the future, and that natural capital can't necessarily be traded, and making our cities resilient to climate change. So what that means is not only having enough water supply, but thinking about our waterways. Over 60% of them are degraded in our cities today. They are just as vulnerable to climate change. Their ecological integrity needs to be maintained and invested in. So what do we mean about that water-sensitive city? These are some of the attributes, and I'll be very happy to talk to you about that afterwards.